Morning, everyone. Good morning, Peekskill. Thank you so much for joining us for another week of our Peekskill community COVID update calls. I'm very excited to welcome you to what I believe has been a couple months into this program, and we really appreciate all the stakeholders, all the community leaders that have joined us so far, and that we hope will join us in the future. The purpose of these calls has been to create a space for community leaders to convene in a COVID-safe way with the intention of helping members of the public to understand and support efforts to respond to the coronavirus crisis by providing weekly updates from key agencies, including ways in which we can all pitch in and lessen each other's burden. These calls do happen on a weekly basis. They've happened every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. And we have live streamed these calls on Facebook. After they're live streamed, they are published and permanently kept on our Facebook page, as well as published on the City of Peekskill website and later broadcast on our government channel. Every week, we do rotate stakeholders to give the public the ability to hear from a variety of agencies, as well as from different departments here at City Hall. But today, we have joining us Ben Bolton from HRH Care, Dr. David Mauricio, who is the superintendent of the Peekskill City School District. We have Grace Perry, the director of the Bridge Fund of Westchester, Jonathan Zamora, who is our department head for the Seniors and Nutrition Program. And we have our city manager, Andy Stewart, who is joining us today and will be giving us a report from City Hall. So I'm very excited to have these panelists today. And I'd like to hand it over to our mayor to open us up with some welcoming remarks. Mayor?
All right, good morning, everyone. Thanks again for joining this weekly stakeholders call. I just want to say to the people that are on the call, thank you sincerely for taking time out of your day to be here this morning and give us some information. I'm looking forward to hearing what you're going to share. I just want to give a special shout out to Dr. Mauricio and the school district for, I'm sure he's going to talk about it, but what I was able to be a part of the other day, and our deputy mayor of the city of Peekskill was also a guest speaker at this event. So it was very exciting to see that the efforts that they're putting together to give a class of 20 the greatest experience they possibly can during this crisis. So I thank Dr. Mauricio and the entire school district for all the work that they're doing. Everyone else on the call, thank you sincerely for all that you're doing for this community. People at home that are watching online, if you'd like to know what the city of Peekskill is doing specifically to handle this COVID-19 crisis, you can check us out on our city website at cityofpeekskill.com. You can also check the information out on the city social media page as well as the government channel. And we do now have daily updates for those of you who aren't aware of the amount of cases that the city of Peekskill have, which I'm sure our city manager is going to give you the information at the end. So city of Peekskill is doing a lot better than we were before, thankfully. So, but thank you all sincerely for being here this morning. I look forward to hearing what you're going to share.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And for folks who are tuning in, please, I just want to remind you to please share this video. Share it on your personal page, share it on the different group pages that you're a part of, any community pages. We do want to make sure that the information that we are disseminating today at these panels, that they continue to be spread and that we maximize the reach that they get. So any help that you can give us on that effort is very much appreciated. So please share. First up, we have Ben Bolton, who is joining us from HRH Care. Ben, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Well, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Mayor and Andy and councilperson. We really have appreciated the opportunity to be able to participate in these calls, and the fact that you have been organizing this since April and bringing this together is a huge benefit to the community. As the mayor referenced, cases in Peekskill are down significantly. We have 15 active cases. Last week we were at 24. 3 weeks ago we were at 44, so we're definitely seeing a drop there. Total cases in Peekskill to date have been 957, but we're seeing a definite drop off there. As many of you know, we're entering phase 3 in the state reopening. This is restaurants, food services, and personal care. HRH care, we've reopened our dental services about 2 weeks ago, and people are coming in, and our hope is to open more broadly open our current clinical services after the July 4th holiday. This is going to be a key component in looking ahead and looking forward. As many, particularly parents, are aware, it's been very difficult to keep children up with vaccines, and we're really hoping to increase our ability to provide vaccinations. That's going to be very critical in building up the community immunities for all of the pediatrics, MMR, and so on. So we encourage people to make those appointments. Another thing that it's a little early in the year, but it will be coming soon, and in thinking ahead, flu vaccines are going to be more critical than ever this year. Keep in mind that the flu is a very similar structured virus. It is a coronavirus, but it's a different coronavirus than the CoV-2 virus. But in the U.S., there are over 60,000 deaths a year from the flu and over 810,000 hospitalizations. And what one of the concerns is as we enter the fall and we potentially see a second wave of the COVID-19 response, is going to be the demand on hospitals. So if we overlay the COVID demand on hospitals with 810,000 other hospitalizations, it's going to severely overwhelm the system and can be much more severe than what we've experienced over the past few months. So really attention to vaccinations is going to be critical as this pandemic moves forward. Westchester County, the rates are continuing to drop down to 7%. We're seeing very few cases. There were 24 new cases yesterday, as opposed to a week ago, there were 59. So that's continuing, but New York City, Suffolk County, Nassau are still in the top 20 counties in the country as far as mortality rate and infection rates. So there's a great deal there. New York, the testing rate is continuing to improve. We've tested over 3.5 million. That's 389,000 have been positive. And we're beginning to see some of those rates drop off. But we would caution you, and if we look nationally, it's very concerning as more states have opened up and began opening up before New York. We're beginning to see very steep increases in increased rates of infection. Some are even higher than the initial stages of this current wave of the pandemic. We're seeing in 26 states, we're seeing a very rapid increase. 7 of those states have the highest hospitalization rates than they've seen since the pandemic began. Some of the increase of infection rates have gone up 215%. So we do want to be very cautious, even as we enter phase 3 and eventually phase 4, that the protections, that social distancing, that masks, that hand hygiene are really the frontline defense at this point. And we have to be very cautious about relaxing. Everybody wants to go out and, sit. I had a very nice lunch at one of the local restaurants the other day, but we're all very, very conscious of that social distancing. So that is key to maintaining this. Worldwide, there are 9.4 million cases with 483,000 deaths. In the U.S., we've been able to test about 28.5 million, which is about 7% of the population. Those do sound like big numbers, but for testing to really become meaningful and for us to be able to control that and work with that, The contact tracing is a critical component, and certainly New York State is one of the leaders in the country in contact tracing, but we would encourage anybody who is reached out to by contact tracers to cooperate and to be available for them. This is a key component in controlling the spread of the disease. So we hope to see an increase in that. And those are the general high points. As I say, we are seeing an improvement both in Peekskill and in the county. It is allowing opening up, but there still needs to be an abundance of caution on protecting yourself and those around you. And if there are any questions.
Well, thank you so much, Ben Balton, for that very thorough overview of where we're currently at. And I think what you said was so important. I think that we can't let our guard down now, just because, you know, we're starting to open up, and the summer is here, and things almost feel as though, you know, although it's not quite back to normal, but it's starting to maybe feel that way. But we have to stay vigilant. So I appreciate you mentioning that. Do we have any questions from any folks on the phone for Ben?
Yeah, I'm not getting a comment yet on Facebook. I will note that there are about 10 people watching, and these videos typically get viewed between 1,000 and 3,000 times after the fact, you know, over the next few weeks. So it's nice to see that the conversation is getting played and replayed. But right now, I don't have any specific questions on Facebook about the health issue.
Great, thank you, Andy. Anyone on the phone? No? Well, thanks again, Ben. We really appreciate you being here week after week, providing us this information, and we really appreciate all the work you're doing over, and you and the whole team at Hudson River Healthcare. It's tremendous, everything you're doing, and we know that it can't have been easy these last few months, and I'm sure it will not continue to be easy, you know, moving forward, as we kind of get out of this. But really appreciate your accessibility to the community. It's critical at this moment. So we thank you for being here. Next, we have Dr. David Mauricio from the Peekskill City School District. Dr. Mauricio, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Councilperson Agudelo, and good morning to the Peekskill community and to all the stakeholders here on the call today. I just wanted to begin by saying a very big thank you to you, Councilperson Agudelo, to our city manager, Mr. Stewart, and to our mayor, Rainey, and all of your staff at the city of Peekskill. These calls have been tremendously important for us to be able to share out the information that we have, and we know that they certainly go viral in a positive way as people share it out with their contacts and people see it at their convenience. So thank you again for that leadership. This is wonderful. I would like to, as the mayor mentioned, we had a wonderful taping of our 2020 class graduation 2 days ago, and Mayor Rainey was there, and also Deputy Mayor McKenzie was there as well, and they gave inspirational speeches to our class of 2020, amazing conversations and thoughts to our class to be leaders, to be socially minded, to be justice oriented, to be visionary, to set high bars for themselves. And I would really appreciate both of them sharing of their time. They had to sit there for about 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours, as we taped the ceremony, and gave each child their opportunity to be recognized at the end of the ceremony, and the full pomp and circumstance. And so we really appreciate both of them giving of their time and being part of that ceremony. It truly made it special. And that will air live on our district website, but it will also be on the on the high school website, but it will also be available on the two cable channels on Optimum and also Verizon for the community to see, and we'll continue to share that out through the summer as well, so that the entire community can see. So we encourage all of our seniors and their families to join in and watch it. It'll be 2 p.m. on Sunday. Today we begin and launch our pizza giveaway to our class of 2020 at the high school. Students have been scheduled what time they can come. They will come up in a vehicle and we will hand them a pizza. We also will hand them a soda and or a drink, and also chips and snacks. And we want to thank a special thank you to John, owner of Birdsall House, who donated drinks and pizza to our students, and so cases of it. And so we'll be handing that out to our students today. And so we really want to say a big thank you to him and to all of our administrators. Myself and other administrators donated the funding to make this happen for our students. So it's free of charge for all of our students, and we are excited about that today. And then tomorrow is our parade, Friday. So we're asking the community to wear masks, socially distance yourself, but to please line the streets from Woodside Elementary School, Union Avenue, and then we'll make a right on Hudson, and we will proceed towards the Torpy Field. And so you can line up on Hudson, on Union Avenue. We'll make a left on Wells near the administration building, and you can line up there, and then the students will enter the parking lot as well. And it's a great time to come out, show your support for our class of 2020. Many communities have had a parade, and we chose a shorter route so that we really can line the street 6 feet apart, but we can have no dead spaces where individuals are not. And so we want it to be a full enthusiastic opportunity. So please come out 10:30 tomorrow on those streets, and information is available on our website as well. And then on Saturday, we will have our actual graduation ceremony for our students, which is really the important part of students being able to come with their families. You, per the state guidelines, you can bring your immediate family who reside within your household. They can come in the car. We want you to dress up as much as you want to dress up. This is a special moment. We want our students to wear their caps and gowns. Bring your tassel because you will cross the stage. You'll have an opportunity to take pictures by yourself crossing the stage. We will hand you your diploma jacket. I will be there. I will confer you as a graduate. And that's an official act that I get to do with the powers vested in me by the state of New York. And then you'll have another station in which you and your family can exit the car and take a full picture as a family, and the stages will be decorated beautifully. And so we really look forward to that. This is a model that many school districts have followed. It is health conscious on our part, as Mr. Bolton shared. We want to go back to normalcy, but we can't go fully back to normalcy. So we created a special experience. And in the end, we want people to, quite frankly, be alive. We want people to be safe. We want them to be COVID-free. We want them to be able to, and most importantly, or equally important, we want our kids to come back to school in September. The virtual learning has taught us a lot, but one thing it has taught us is it is not the same as being in a classroom with a teacher and with your peers. So we want everybody to be, as Mr. Bolton shared, from HRH Care, we want people to be conscious, health conscious, socially conscious, and in the end, our kids need to be back in school. And so that leads me into the last point, which is we are preparing for reentry. Our teams are concluding their work. Stakeholders from parents, administrators, teachers, and staff members. My administrative team are leading various committees related to the reopening of school. Again, there's 3 options: full attendance in September, which is our hopeful goal, partial attendance, which is splitting our classes into 50%, and students attending 2 days a week, and the other group attending another 2 days a week, having virtual learning. And then if things don't go well for us as a state and as a city, and the COVID numbers increase, the governor may make a mandate that we have to be full virtual. And we don't want that to happen. So we really want to all be, again, socially and health conscious. But we are planning for all 3, and we will be sharing that information out in this summer as we know what our final plans are. And then lastly, we will have on our district website a short video from me describing those 3 options and the committee process and what we're planning for. So that is the update for our school district. We're very excited to conclude the class of 2020 graduation ceremonies again this weekend. And then on Sunday, we will air again the full graduation virtual session that we videotaped 2 days ago. And then one last special note, and I'll end on this one, is that Judith Johnson was a superintendent. I believe she was the mayor's superintendent at the time he was in school, and many, many other people. She did phenomenal work for this community, one of which is building that beautiful middle school that we have, she and the board. And we are planting a tree with her family in memory of her passing, which occurred this year. And we're inviting certainly special guests, her family, and individuals. That will be at 1 o'clock on Sunday at the middle school, and we're planting a tree for her in memory of her life and all of her service to children in the city of Peekskill and across the state of New York. So thank you. That is our update, Councilperson Agudelo. And again, thank you so much for hosting these very important, informative sessions.
And then thank you to you, Dr. Mauricio, for being on these calls week after week. I know that your schedule is absolutely crazy because, like the health center, the school district has been really had quite a task in front of them these last few months, having to pivot all their work to remote. And I know the strain that's put on your staff, yourself, and the teachers and the children and families. So I want to give a big congratulations to the class of 2020 for bearing through these troubling times and making it through. I know this isn't the graduation that you may have expected, but given the circumstances, this is the best that we can do, and we want to make sure that the community is doing everything we can to really support our graduates and let them know that we're proud of them. We're proud of them reaching their goals, and we hope that they will continue to follow their dreams in the future, and we look forward to seeing that happen. So thank you to you, Dr. Mauricio, and to the whole team at the Peekskill School District. What you've been doing these last few months is absolutely phenomenal. So I can't thank you enough. It doesn't look like Andy, it doesn't look like there's any questions on Facebook. Any comments or questions from folks on the phone? All right, I'm sorry, did someone want to say something? Okay, not hearing anything. Thank you so much, Dr. Mauricio, again for joining us. Next up, we have Grace Perry, Director of the Bridge Fund of Westchester. Grace, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I know I'm new to the group, so I definitely appreciate you all having me. I know the Bridge Fund is kind of new to the Peekskill community, and although some of you may know about us, I'm sure a lot of you do not. So I'm excited to introduce the Bridge Fund because we've been in the county for a long time, about 22 years. However, I know the Northern County doesn't really get to experience us as much, so I really want to introduce us and talk about what we're going to be doing in Peekskill in the coming week. So the Bridge Fund of Westchester we actually started in White Plains. We're hosted in White Plains, but we service the entire county. We're known for being an eviction prevention agency. So we help people preserve their housing when they're in crisis and facing eviction due to non-payment. It could be any type of crisis. Loss of hours at work, it can be a death in the family, and money has been had to be allocated there in some way, shape, or form. COVID has shifted some of the work that we're doing, but we help a really unique population, and this is the population that sits right on top of the poverty line and oftentimes doesn't qualify for public assistance, or they're often denied by the Department of Social Services. And their ability to gain those financial resources in order to get back on a good pace with paying their rent and paying all of their bills is stunted because they don't qualify for those social services. So we help in that unique way, and we often help in a grant and loan basis, and we're not a bank, so we don't come chasing after you for the money in that sense, but the loan is a moral obligation, and that it helps people stay obligated to fixing. And then we also have a grant process for those who are in need most. So seniors who are on a fixed income, et cetera, those who have lower income. So it's not that we only help those who are sitting right on the poverty line, but the working class, et cetera. So, and it doesn't mean that everyone gets a loan or everyone gets a grant, et cetera. So during COVID, we've kind of shifted our work, obviously more grants, less loans, so and that type of thing. But we've also extended our service. So we've been helping with food, so food gift cards. We've been helping more so with like diapers, emergency needs, like paying for medical care, where we realized that it's been taking people a really long time to get their unemployment benefits and all of those types of things. So we've been going into communities, we've been hosting these events and helping people to fill out the application for their rental arrears. And so a lot of people are waiting until the moratorium is up and saying, you know, I'll deal with it then in 3 or 4 or 5 months. And we know that that's a terrible idea because everyone is going to be swamped with these applications. It's going to take time. But in the meantime, the courts will be saturated as well. And people are being harassed by their landlords and all of these types of things. So we're going into the communities. We're trying to get ahead of this. We're also providing food gift cards, et cetera. So on July 1st, we're partnering with Westcop at the Peekskill CAP office at the Kiley Center at 709 Main Street. We're so excited because we partner with the Kiley Center often. We partner with a lot of the social service organizations in Peekskill. And we made an initiative about 1.5 years ago to make our presence more known. So we have been going to DSS, partnering with a lot of the leaders at DSS in Peekskill, and really trying to make our presence known in Peekskill and showing people that there's other social service organizations in Peekskill, or that are not necessarily located in Peekskill, but that are still accessible to Peekskill residents. So we've been trying to make it a point to be there and just really show up and just be present in the community. So on July 1st, we're gonna be at the Kiley Center. We'll set up tables outside, socially distanced. You know, we'll continue to ask people to wear masks. This is really, really important for us because we obviously have to stay safe for our families, but we also want everyone to stay safe for theirs as well. We'll fill out applications with you all. We will give out gift cards for food. We will give out gift cards for diapers and those types of needs. And we will also help with applications for Con Ed, et cetera. And then from there, we'll help people meet other needs. So we'll assess if there's needs for referrals for just anything that's impeding on people's ability to sustain on the long term. So that's our case management piece. And then from there, if there's another need, we'll come back in the future. But July 1st at the Kiley Center, 709 Main Street in Peekskill, we're partnering with Westcop at the PCAP office. Marquette and her team are great, and we partner with them all year long. So this is not just a one-time thing. We do this all year long. But we're definitely going to be out there that day, filling out applications en masse. We welcome people to come and join us. Again, for food, con medicine, rent, diapers, medication refills, et cetera. And then from there, we'll follow up on the back end if there's any additional needs. And so, yeah, that's really what we do. And if anybody has any questions, we really welcome you all to reach out to us. Again, it's the Bridge Fund of Westchester. You can find our information online and you can email us. You can find us on our website, thebridgefund.org. Call us, email us, our website, etc. Oh, and we'll be out there from 11 to 3.
Thank you so much, Grace, for sharing that. And thank you for being on this call. We really appreciate the collaboration you're having with Westcop, the services and resources that you're providing to our community. They're critical and essential. I know for a fact that, you know, a lot of our residents are facing issues with housing right now, given the housing crisis that we're currently in, and on top of the pandemic, it's just kind of exacerbating all these other issues that exist.
Sure.
So it's so critical that we are providing these services. Grace, can you talk a little bit about, because I think when people hear poverty line, they don't know what income level that usually means. So can you talk about is there specific criteria to folks who would be showing up to get any of these resources? Do they need to fall within a certain income level? Is there like is there a certain income level that you usually don't go above in terms of giving people resources because you feel that they're making too much?
So when I say poverty line, this is DSS's cap for, and not necessarily DSS's cap, this is the cap that's given to DSS by the federal government. And so this is the federal poverty line that they say you either make too much or you make too little to sustain. And here is the cap that you can receive in order, this is the cap of money that you can have coming in order to receive food stamps or whatever the case may be. We often receive client referrals that for people that just miss that. They can literally miss that for cents on the dollar. They're over it by literally like pennies on the dollar. So they just miss food stamps by like $1 or $2. And so that often puts people past the bare bone, like it literally makes them tight on their bare bones budget. So like that saying, robbing Peter to pay Paul, like they're shorting themselves on their Con Ed bill in order to complete their rent or to pay for food, etc. Because they make just a little too much in order to qualify for some of those public entitlements that will make it just a little bit easier to make ends meet. But for us, we go to 200% of the poverty line. If you're at that high, you typically wouldn't even be applying for our assistance. So I've never had a client that I've turned away because they're making too much money. I've been here for 2 years and I've never turned anybody away. So it's on a case by case basis, but we go to 200% of the poverty line. I've never had anybody that I've turned away because they make too much money based on their household size. So yeah, no.
And the federal poverty line is around 12,000, right?
So it varies based on family size, but
Okay.
yeah, and like monthly household income for like a family of like 4 is like not that much. It's very low monthly.
Right.
And I think about like myself who has a son. So when I hear like Dr. Mauricio talking about like graduation and stuff, I'm like, I'm looking forward to watching ours on TV too. So like as I think about my son's 8th grade graduation, I'm like, he's home. And we're sensitive to the fact that a lot of our work right now is because of COVID. Like we've done a lot of fundraising, specifically for the and I really want to note this, for COVID, because we're very well aware that you didn't have to be COVID positive to be affected by COVID. You didn't have to lose work to be affected by COVID. Our executive director has worked day and night to raise money just for people affected by COVID, but it doesn't mean that you had to be positive or lose your job or something like that. Children being home from school, people went from feeding their children dinner and like a snack or something like that to feeding their children all 3 meals, all 3 snacks. They can't always make it out to get the free meals. They can't. And Peekskill's in an interesting situation because we were talking about this before the call, but they're what we call like a resource desert. Like there's just not as many accessible resources as there are in the lower county. So in the lower county, you have in some areas where there might be food pantries or food giveaways, sometimes in a square like mile radius, 4 and 5 or 6 in 1 square mile radius in one single day. That's not the case in Peekskill. So people have access to food at different times of the day and all of those things. That's not the case in Peekskill. So we want to make sure that people have access to food, but also just the sense of kids being home, it costs more and the food prices have skyrocketed. The price of meat has increased, all of those types of things. So we're sensitive to that. So we want to make sure that we give people enough money to provide for their families. And just other things, the cost of transportation, getting back to work now that people are finally starting to get back to work. Childcare is like non-existent right now. So I know that my son is like not going to camp this summer. He's due to do a training program for camp counselors. That's not happening this summer. So now I have to figure out something different that's going to now cost me a different amount than what I was expecting. So parents are having to plan for that. So these are all unexpected expenses, which is what we often find with our client base, is that there was some unexpected expense that impeded on their ability to pay their rent. People have run through their savings. We've had people that have had $20,000 in savings, but when you have lost your job, your unemployment has not kicked in, and now you have 5 months or 4 months worth of rent. You're getting ready to go on your 5th month or 4th month, and then you've had to feed your children, you've had to pay your Con Edison, and you have, 5 children, and your, rent is $2,800 a month. You're now in a situation where you have very little savings left.
Right.
So we're cognizant of that. We're sensitive to that. We're sensitive to the fact that, there's an undocumented population that is in another situation that their needs aren't met as easily. We're partnering with other partners who have the ability to service them uniquely and meet their needs that have Spanish-speaking staff. We do have one Spanish-speaking staff who unfortunately won't be there, but Westcott does have a Spanish-speaking staff that will be there to be able to help people meet their needs. We have people who have children that have disabilities that, it's hard to meet their needs because their children are more susceptible to not being able to recover type of thing. So we want to make sure that we're meeting people's needs, meeting their needs safely, and really making sure that people stay housed. The accessibility to affordable rent in the county is very, very limited. We know that when Housing Action Council gives out these listings for affordable housing, they're limited. So when people apply, there's thousands of families looking for affordable housing, but they might only have 15. And so the access to affordable housing that's safe and equitable, and families can live in a place that they don't fear for their children's safety, and that their cabinets aren't falling off the ceiling, there's no mold. Those are things that we look for. We also pay to move people into affordable housing. Like if they get a Section 8 voucher, we can help with stuff like that. We want to make sure that people have access to those. But if people are in affordable apartments, we don't want them to lose them. We help refer to legal services. This is another thing that's really important. People are in a situation where the eviction process, landlords are also in a situation more sensitive to that because they haven't been able to pay their mortgages and stuff too, and they're in a tight situation, especially if they're owners of this one building or something like that, and this is just how they make ends meet. We're sensitive to that, but we want to make sure that tenants are connected to lawyers. This is really, really important that they have equal counsel. It's like going to a gunfight with a knife. When you show up, your landlord has a lawyer and you don't get enough time to get the money together. We want to make sure that they're connected, and we, from the very front end, make sure that they are connected to counsel if they qualify and all of those things. So we partner very closely with the Right to Counsel. We basically do a needs assessment on the front end. We figure out, is this just a money thing? We look at their ledger. We make sure that there's no charges that are, inaccurate. We do all of these things to make sure that holistically, this is not a case for recidivism. Are they continuously behind on their rent? Is this an affordability issue? We're looking at all these things to make sure that families are in a good space moving forward. And that's really important for us. This isn't just host an event, give them a card for food, and then push them off, pay their rent one time, and then you say that in 6 months or a year, we're back in this position. It's really important for us, for families to be healthy and be in a good place.
Thank you so much, Grace, for that very comprehensive overview of your services and the opportunity that you're offering next week with Westcott. I'm really looking forward to this partnership with Peekskill, and please feel free to reach out if there's anything we can help do, amplify. We actually had, I believe it was Sherry from the Legal Services of the Hudson Valley on 2 weeks back. So she spoke a little bit about the legal services that can be offered to folks who are also being put in a predicament where they're not seeing the ability to pay rent after this moratorium as a real possibility or a reality for them given the circumstances. So it is truly important, and we really appreciate all the work that you guys are doing and for helping secure the funding to do these things. It's incredible and critical, so we appreciate that. Do we have any questions for Ms. Perry?
I have about 1 million questions, but I don't want to. We got Jonathan, who actually has a lot to say about food in the city of Peekskill, and I don't want to delay that. But I do want to maybe just schedule some time with you offline. I'm curious about what the best, so what kind of interaction with the Section 8 program exists and would be most helpful, because that's one way in which you know, a lot of folks come through City Hall who might really have an interest in participating in some of your programs as well. And so it'd be interesting to sort of see how we can maybe tighten up the system of referrals and partnership in a direct way.
I think Section 8 is a hard one because their wait lists are really long, and the accessibility to funding for increased Section 8 vouchers is not necessarily there. You know, the feds have been talking about increasing this, and they've been deciding whether they're going to make it voucher based or project based, and either way would be beneficial. I think one of the challenges is that in our town and municipality courts, and Peekskill is in a very unique position because you like the rest of our cities, those courts collect data around how many people you see as far as evictions, but you guys in your Department of Social Services are seeing people for eviction prevention funds and stuff like that from the municipalities like Verplank and stuff like that around you guys that we also see, but their municipality courts are not collecting that data. So we don't know how many people with those Section 8 vouchers are like losing them or at risk of losing them from those smaller municipalities to really see what's at risk here and see how we can tighten up the process. It's really important. We have people that are homeless that have vouchers that it's really hard to find housing, and it's illegal to discriminate against somebody who has a voucher because you don't want to take a voucher as a landlord. So it's really important for us to make sure that when those things are happening, that we involve legal services, that we make sure that this isn't just a money issue. We're very well aware of that. People are discriminated against because of their vouchers. They have health and safety issues in their apartments. Like, this is a much larger issue, but Section 8 is very touchy and the wait list is really long. But the process of Section 8 really, we do have a great relationship with them, and legal services has a great relationship with them. So if there's something that we can do to partner and how we get them being the landlord, the funds quicker, because Section 8 is great about paying out. It's the paperwork piece. And if there's something that we can do to partner with us, legal services and Section 8 type of thing to tighten that process, I'm definitely open to that, to help people move through the process quicker and maintain their vouchers.
Right. All right. Well, let's set up a conversation around that. Okay.
Perfect.
I also just want to know, this is a side thing. We don't have time for it. But one of the wonderful, that I've seen anyway, kind of overall analysis of the situation is the United Way's Alice program. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's yeah, I'm sure you are. But I just encourage everybody to take a look at their website. I'll actually put it in the chat. But it's essentially, Alice stands for asset limited income constraint. And essentially, there's a lot of people who are above the poverty line, but they're under the threshold of what it takes to meet their basic necessities. And United Way pegs this at around $87,000 a year for a family of 4, and they add it up. You know, housing for $1,300, childcare for $1,200, taxes, health, transportation, as you were pointing out. And this is outside of the COVID situation. There's a lot of people who fall under that threshold but are above the federal poverty line, and so they don't qualify for a lot of programs. You're really tackling that. It's commendable.
So that's how we chose Peekskill for about a year and a half ago, was where we were going to focus our efforts. So when I came on board here, we really like focused on the whole county, but it was just like how we got our referrals. So I decided when I came on board, like we should start to target certain areas, and that's how I targeted Peekskill. You guys, so across the county, we have about 24% of our families that fall in the Alice area.
Right.
Overall, Peekskill, on the other hand, has a larger percentage per capita that fall in this, and that's how we chose, was basically based on Alice. Of you guys have a huge percentage of people who fall in this poverty area, and then a larger percentage of people that fall in Alice, which puts them in a really critical space when anything happens, a tire blows, anything that fall in this Alice position. So that's how we chose.
And actually, because I was actually looking at the Alice chart too, and I have the figures right in front of me, and we have for Peekskill, it's been reported that 12% of the households are falling under the poverty line.
Yep.
43% of our households are below the ALICE threshold, and only 44% of households are above that threshold. So that means a significant, and I mean a majority of our population is cost burdened. And are not able to meet their basic needs given the circumstances of rent, the cost of living in this county, and then on top of that, potentially the loss of job, the loss of income because of COVID, health bills that were unexpected. I mean, it's truly tragic, and so much more of a reason why I'm so happy that we have you on this call and that we're partnering with you. And again, thank you, Grace, for all you're doing.
I should also note that we're primarily private funded. So when I came on board, we started to diversify, myself and my executive director, started to diversify our funding, but we're primarily private funded. So it gives us the ability to be a little bit more unique in the way that we spend our money. So for instance, like the county doesn't necessarily pay to replace like a bed bugs, like a bed for a bed bug case. Imagine a family of 4 getting a set of bed bugs. Like that is expensive to replace beds. So we can like be unique in how we respond to those things and how we help in those cases. And so we are in a unique position to really respond to the needs of the community. Given our private funding, and our funders are really sensitive to the fact that the needs in the communities are just so different, and we have to be responsive and be quickly responsive. So those are things that we're able to just be uniquely responsive to.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Andy, were there any questions from folks online?
No questions pertinent to this particularly. One person just saying thank you, and also recognizing your, particularly Grace, but also to Vanessa, your effort to expand public comment in the council meetings. Some appreciation for that effort. But other than that, no.
Thank you. Well, Grace, thank you so much for jumping on the call.
I just want to say to Grace, thank you so much for providing that information, and welcome to Peekskill. I've had the pleasure of working with Marquette for a couple of years, and my grandmother used to actually work in the same position as her for probably about 35, 40 years. So, working with Westcop has always been a pleasure, especially beneficial in this community. They offer so many great services that I think that many people may just not be aware of, but they're very helpful to have an additional organization pushing more of these efforts to help the people in this community is great, and I'm glad into the poverty line. And I like that middle group seems to always just get left out. It's extremely important to try to represent everyone in the city of Peekskill. So, I welcome you here to the city of Peekskill. I look forward to working with you. And Marquette definitely sent me the event information for July 1st. I feel like she's like my supervisor. She sends me stuff and tells me to make sure I share it, make sure I'm attending. She's definitely doing her part. So I definitely look forward to working with you. And
Yes, I appreciate you guys so much. I really look forward to my team being in Peekskill. I'm really excited. I have a really diverse team. I'm really excited. I think that, cultural competency is really important. I really am excited to have my team be present and just really show their support for Peekskill. And again, I think being out there, being present is really important. So we look forward to it. I mean, Marquette and I have partnered in so much so far. So we look forward to it. And however we can help, we really encourage you guys to reach out to us offline if you have something that's unique that you think we might not cover, but you never know. We can really help in other ways. Our executive director is really forward thinking, and we really encourage you guys to reach out to us just in ways that you can use us, the school district, stuff like that. We are sensitive to even those foster care needs, those things that people just never really think of for an eviction prevention agency, but we're creative in thinking about how we think of kids with transitional living and moving out of foster care and aging out. And we're sensitive to those things and people transitioning from shelters, and we're sensitive to those things and how hard people work to transition out of shelters. And we recognize the challenges with CHOP and all of those things, and you know, they're moving and all of those things. So we really encourage you guys to use us. We thank you for welcoming us, and we look forward to being up there. You know, we've been partnering with the Preservation Company and all of those things for years, and so partnering from a desk in White Plains is very different from being present. So we're so excited to be up there, and so we look forward to that. You know, we have just a solid story. But we, you know, you guys had a street homeless guy up there for 4.5 years, and we met him last summer. And I vowed that if there's one thing I did before I stopped my personal presence in Peekskill. So we've been sitting between DSS with Marquette at Westcop and at the senior center. We've been kind of like rotating and where we sit and like kind of getting meeting clients and stuff. And we just kind of hop offices, see who needs us, etc. And I said, before I physically stop joining my team, I would get this man housed. And May 8th was the first time he slept in his own bed in his own apartment. So we're working. It's getting there.
Congratulations. That's a beautiful story. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Peekskill is, you know, it's near and dear to our hearts. We're committed to it. So we really encourage you guys to really reach out to us and utilize us the best way you can.
Thank you so much, Grace. We really appreciate it. Next
Council,
up, I'm sorry.
may I just share something? Oh, Grace, just thank you, and as the mayor said, welcome to the city of Peekskill. And I just want to extend an olive branch to your organization and to you. I will have Maria Olivel Flores, who is our parent community liaison for the district, contact you this summer and see how we can coordinate our efforts, be able to have your information shared in our parent center where parents and families enroll into our school district, and also other events that we have where we can have you set up a table, an informational table, or even do a informational workshop for families as well, as we can help spread the word as best we can.
Oh,
excellent. Okay. Well, you know what? That doesn't surprise me. She's on things so fast, so that's great.
Yeah. So, but she's definitely on it. But I appreciate that. The school district is really important to me. I think that's really important. That's, you know, how we keep kids focused and really staying committed to their schoolwork, is when they don't have to worry about, you know, where they're going to rest their head, when their next meal is going to be. That those things are really important.
Great.
Absolutely, absolutely. Consider us a partner.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I love the networking happening on this call. That's great. I'm glad to see it. Next up, we actually have one of our own from Peekskill City Hall, Jonathan Zamora, our department head for the nutrition program. Thank you so much for being on this call, Jonathan. Another person who's doing really awesome work to ensure that the resources are there for our families currently in need during these troubling times. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. And just to start, you know, to speak to the impact of the Bridge Fund, you know, you hear about all of these services and how good they are for the community and how much promise they hold. But when you really see it firsthand, really impact someone's life, you see how significant it can be. And I just want to thank, you know, Grace for being on the call today. It's tremendous work that she's doing, and we're very happy to partner and obviously be working together in the future. So like everyone has said, welcome to Peekskill, and we look forward to many years of collaboration. So I'm just going to provide a couple of updates here. First, with the senior nutrition program. Number one, we miss all of you. We miss all of our seniors coming into the neighborhood center, into the dining room, sharing their stories, talking and socializing, playing games and etc. And we have continued to provide the meal services throughout the pandemic. We really didn't miss a beat. And I really commend the staff on really being passionate about our mission and what we do and continuing to serve the community. During this time, we've had a lot of seniors who have never participated in the program before reach out to us, and those sort of longtime friends maybe 10 years ago joined and are now coming back to our center, which has been outstanding. So it's great to connect with everyone in the community. On that note, we're working very, very closely with the Westchester County Office of Senior Programs and Services. All right, these are experts both on the state and the county level who govern all of the senior nutrition centers throughout the county. So the latest I have heard, and we're sending letters out and advisories to our current participants, and we're providing updates on our department website. We're looking for a phase 4 reopening at the very earliest. Okay, so we're emphasizing to welcome people back as safely and as soon as possible. The process will be a little bit different. Our dining room will have a little bit less room for accommodations. We're trying to figure out having multiple lunch services, potentially, so we can expand the capacity for the seniors in need. Our homebound delivery meals will continue as have transpired throughout the entirety of the pandemic. So we will continue to mark those services. And again, as soon as we get updates from Westchester County, we'll certainly communicate that to both City Hall, to our present participants, and we certainly welcome any new seniors who want to participate in the meal program. So the requirements to participate, you have to be a resident of Peekskill, and you have to be 60 or older. Okay, it's a very quick process, and we can get you started as little as about 72 hours with new meals for our lunch program, and we're serving meals 5 days a week. Okay, so if you haven't heard about us, or if you've heard about us and haven't really reached out before, we encourage you to do that. We welcome everyone who wants to participate and expand our community. And again, we are making preparations to make sure our reopening is as safe as possible for everyone involved, so we can get back to sort of a sense of normal, so to speak, like everyone is very eager to do. We really can't wait to welcome everyone back through our doors.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. We really appreciate that. And like you said, we do miss our seniors, but we know that they've been well taken care of because of the work of yourself and your team. So we really appreciate all the effort and bandwidth you've put towards responding to the current need. I know it's not exactly, you've been given a lot of new responsibilities, and I want to acknowledge that and thank you for it, because it has been extremely critical that we've responded in the way that we have as a city, and we appreciate your leadership in that regard.
Well, thank you so much, and for your support. So, speaking to collaborations, working with many of the groups in Peekskill, religious organizations, groups like CHOP, Peekskill Rotary, all of these groups are really wanting to do good things and has sort of risen to the occasion. So partnering with Feeding Westchester, we've been able to mobilize conservatively since March 1st, a little over 500,000 pounds of food that's been distributed in the community at any number of different distribution events. So the listing for the distribution events is on the city website on the COVID tab. We update it regularly. We're very consistent with it, and we also have been lucky enough to be able to sort of publicize these events on Facebook. Obviously with the nature of the distributions and a lot of moving parts to sort of the situation, some last minute changes have occurred, and we just try to vocalize that as well as we can. But I've had the ability to work with community members and leaders that otherwise I may not have, and it's just been a tremendous blessing to be able to do this. And I want to just thank the school district specifically, being outstanding partner for the city, providing meals, providing groceries, and everyone's support. So it's been an absolute team effort, and it really speaks to the sense of community in Peekskill. So it's something I'm very, very proud to be a part of.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. And absolutely, I want to echo everything you've said. The collaboration that's taken place these last few months is truly inspiring. Is probably one of the silver linings, if any, during this pandemic. Andy, do we have any questions for Jonathan?
We don't have any specific questions for Jonathan. So, he absolutely does a great job, and we've had him on a number of times before. So
I have a question.
The information is definitely getting out.
Sorry, I have a question. We get often calls about like food delivery for seniors. Do you guys do any like food delivery?
We have a couple of ways to go about it. We partnered with a group called Ride Connect, and I'm glad you brought that up, Grace.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Ride Connect has been working with us very closely since about early April. And there's two ways to get, we're really seniors, really focus more on the senior population, but on income sensitive populations as well. There's two ways. The first is really dealing with more seniors. You can call the Ride Connect number, and that phone number is 914-864-0955, and you can call and speak to one of the representatives, and they will connect you with a volunteer within 72 hours or so. Usually it's faster than that, but within 72 hours. And you can communicate your grocery list to the volunteer, who then goes to the supermarket, purchases the groceries, and delivers them to the designated address. The person then reimburses the volunteer for the cost of the groceries. So they've been limiting this service to more seniors and those who are compromised, which has been very helpful. The other way to get food for people who are a little bit more income sensitive is that we've worked out with CHOP and with the school district and other food stakeholders. We provide a list through our office. And what we do is we provide a list to the Ride Connect service, and they mobilize any number of volunteers. I think we've had 13 or 14 volunteers at the most, taking a number of deliveries. They pick up food bags and meal bags from the food distribution sites and deliver them directly to the people we designate. So
Okay.
there is no charge for that. So that has been very, very popular. I really, kudos to Ride Connect and the volunteers specifically. I think they have a bank of close to 400 volunteers, which there's a lot of people wanting to do good work throughout the county. So it's just, again, it's just been a community-based effort, and it really comes, everyone's very passionate about it. So those are ways that we can sort of assist in getting groceries. Through our program, specifically with the seniors, we have a grocery program through Feeding Westchester, which they deliver bags of fresh produce that we deliver to all of our population. So that's been coming every couple of weeks, and we, have no indication of slowing down anytime soon.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from folks on the phone? No? Okay. All right, well, last but absolutely not least, we have our city manager, Andy Stewart, who will be giving us a report from City Hall. And
I'll just mention a few things because we've been going for a while here, and everybody needs to get going. But just want to mention that the City Hall and the city operations, just like the business and the private sector, have a reopening challenge. We want to try to start welcoming visitors through the front doors again. But we have to meet the same criteria in our own way that others do. And that means masks, that means sign-in sheet, that means appointments, as opposed to just people forming lines. And so to get there, we need to redesign the front entryway a little bit, and that's underway. And so when folks, and I do want to just remind people and make sure everybody's aware, everybody's been working in City Hall throughout this crisis. We've just limited public access for the obvious reasons. And so what we've all had to do, just like so many businesses and other organizations, is really to work remotely and to use a lot more email and phone and video conference meetings and so on in order to get work done. There's not a heck of a lot of silver lining in this situation, but if you're looking for one, I think we'll find that our efforts to kind of upgrade our ability to work remotely and to take care of people without them actually having to walk through the doors, has come a long way, and those are lasting benefits. And we really do. The cycle time on certain kinds of applications and services, through the clerk office or Section 8 or others, will be reduced and be made more convenient. But having said that, it's not a heck of a lot of silver lining, and what we really want to do is be able to take care of people's needs in multiple ways. And so greeting and handling inquiries in person is part of that, and we don't have a firm date on that because we need to kind of reorganize our front door a little more. We came up with some good ideas, sort of change our plan a little bit this week. So it relates to staffing in part. One other thing I wanted to mention is that our whole youth recreation world has kind of been flipped on its head, and of course the school district knows this better than anybody else. But one program that we're promoting, among others, that's COVID safe, is what we call Bike Sundays, which is closing down Depew Park Road and enabling families to bring their bikes or kids and pedal around. I'm looking for community partners on that, reaching out to bike clubs and others to try to really support a broad-ranging initiative to promote accessibility of biking, safety of biking, access to bikes for people who don't have them, and so on, because biking really is a wonderful activity. Even in a hilly town like Peekskill, there's a lot of opportunity, and so we want to promote that in a multifaceted way. So we look for promotional material related to Bike Sundays and the expansion of that program going forward.
When is it starting? I'm sorry?
That the first one will be, it's kind of a soft start on July 12th, Sunday, July 12th. So the Park Road will be closed from about 8 in the morning till noon. Sorry. And that's just sort of part of a broader effort, and we'll get into more details on that as we go through the summer. But it'll be fun. Other recreational, the sad news is the pool not being able to open. Of course, hot summer. Please, everybody, remember that the Fdr Park Pool is opening. I spoke with the park manager, Linda, on that, who's a wonderful woman, and we share resources and ideas all the time. And they're going to be open in the next week or so, providing they can find some lifeguards. If you know a lifeguard who's looking for work, have them call Linda over at the Fdr Park, because they're looking for lifeguards, and people can go swimming over there. I think it's $3 or something like that. So it's right up the road from Peekskill. Other recreational programs that we're putting in, for example, just opening up. It's wonderful, like spontaneous groups getting together to do fitness activities in our parks, whether it's Depew or the riverfront, and which is great. We love to see them used that way. But as that kind of increases, we want to make sure it's organized and people can plan ahead. And so we're sort of developing an approval process so that groups can register and have a spot reserved if they want it. We have a yoga class that started. We got fitness classes going, and things like that. So this is all to say that the city is basically adapting in many ways to COVID-safe operations, both internally and externally. And that goes hand in hand with all the changes that are happening in the private sector to promote sort of the bounce back of our local economy. And so a big focus on that side is outdoor business operations, whether our permit for outdoor dining is specifically about dining. But the reality is other businesses, retailers, barbershops, salons, and others may very well benefit from pulling a sidewalk closure permit and be able to put some equipment on the sidewalk. And we want to make that easy, so we're streamlining that. The city council recently voted to waive fees for sidewalk closures and outdoor dining. So it's not a lot of money, but it sends a strong signal to the business community that we want to try to work with them. If they need to expand outdoors and can do that, that benefit would be available to them without a permitting process fee. But there's some insurance and planning and oversight that's required. So we're developing a system for that. I hope to have our first example of using curbside parking spaces for business operations, hopefully going this weekend, but if not, then next week. And I really want to recognize the collaboration of our planning department, police department, obviously our public works, code enforcers, and others kind of putting their thinking caps on and saying, how can we do this safely? How can we make sure that we are in compliance, sidewalks are clear, ADA rules are met, nobody gets hit by a car, fire hydrants are accessible, and yet also be able to expand business operations, into public space. And so that's just another example of work that's going on within City Hall that focuses on the reopening and facilitation of kind of bounce back from the coronavirus, essentially. And I just want to echo what Ben Bolton said in the very beginning, which is, it's nice to see the numbers down. 15 active cases in Peekskill is a huge difference. It was 200 a month ago. Having said that, everybody just needs to remember that it's there because precisely of the behavioral changes that people have adopted: masks, washing, social distancing, and self-quarantine. And it'll come right back. It'll come right back if we fail to maintain that. And there are a lot of places across the country which are coming back fast because of their failure to maintain those. So you gotta stick to it.
Great, thank you so much, Andy. And I just want to give you like a big thank you for everything that you've accomplished in the short amount of time that you've been here with the city. I know you came here right before the pandemic hit, and you had to learn rather quickly how to maneuver all the, the different departments as well as the different dynamics within the city, on top of the new obstacles that have appeared because of the pandemic. So we really appreciate your effort. I think I would say it's been successful. So I'm very proud of the work that you've done, and I'm very proud to have you part of our team. And thank you so much for being on these calls week after week and for helping me kind of gather all the stakeholders on a weekly basis. I know I know you have a very heavy workload, and the fact that you've been willing to be part of an idea I had a few months ago and really make it come to fruition. It's something I truly appreciate. So I
appreciate you saying that. But really, any praise just goes to the entire team. We've got a lot of great people in the city, both in the private and the civic, obviously, and within city government, working hard in the public interest. I just wanted to say we do have one question related to access to City Hall. And of course, the handicap access on the ground level will continue to be open. And we're actually going to upgrade that and put in a buzzer and so we can monitor it and more quickly respond to folks who might be in a chair who need to get into City Hall and use the elevator. So yes, of course, but the ground floor doors would be locked, and we channel people who can come up the steps into the front door so that we can make sure that their entry, we have access control, actually improves security, and people don't need to hang out in a line without, we'll make an appointment and make sure people can get in and out as quickly as possible. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Andy from folks on the phone?
Yeah, that was the question. Oh, just a reminder also, July 1st is the restart on parking enforcement. This came at the request of the business community. A lot of people think the city just enforces parking because it makes a lot of money. It is a revenue source, no doubt about that. But without parking enforcement, you have no turnover in those prime curbside spaces, which means people can't get in and get out when they want to buy some takeout or visit a shop. So we really need that enforcement, and it's starting up on all metered areas on July 1st.
Thanks, Andy. Well, with that, before I hand it over to the mayor, I just want to give a big thank you again to all the folks on the call today, and all the community leaders that we've had on the call these various last few weeks. Thank you so much for your collaboration, for your initiative to lead a number of very significant initiatives in our community during our response to the coronavirus. It's, like I said, it's been truly inspiring. I just want to kind of note to folks who are watching today and who will be watching later on, that although we have been holding these calls on a weekly basis, we are going to be going on a hiatus for 2 weeks. I don't want folks to worry. We're not canceling these calls. I know it's been extremely well received. People have been learning a lot about a number of different organizations they knew nothing about. So it's been critical. I think it's played a really important role. So we are thinking of ways in which we can make this permanent, and not make it so centered around our COVID response, but more of a rotation and maybe a thematic way of showing our community different sides of organizations, different projects that our boards and agencies are working on. So if you are a community organization, if you are a business, if you have something you want to share with the community, please feel free to reach out, because we do plan on having many more of these in the coming future, just not for the next 2 weeks. So we will be back mid-July, the week of the 12th. We may not be back that Thursday, the 16th. We may move these calls to a different day. We're considering afternoons, maybe weekends. So this isn't necessarily during a time where folks might be back to work. But I do want to give consideration to the folks who have been on these calls, and make sure that if they want to continue to participate, that they can. So we do have to have a conversation about scheduling. But just wanted to give everyone the heads up, and again, thank the folks like Dr. Mauricio, Ben Bolton, Reverend Jeanette Phillips, Cynthia Knox from CHOP, Jonathan Zamora, Andy, the mayor, the folks who have been on these calls various times. Again, I know that your schedules are crazy, and we really, really appreciate you making time for this, and just a big thank you to you all. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to the mayor to close us out.
All right, thank you so much. I just want to say thank you all once again for tuning in, and also the city of Peekskill website is being updated daily for information on how we're handling this COVID crisis. The city manager and myself are also hosting weekly updates that we're going to continue every Tuesday afternoon and post on the city website as well as our city social media page. So other than that, I just want to say thank you all for participating. All your work is definitely appreciated in the city of Peekskill. I just left. I have a message for Dr. Mauricio. If he's still on the line, yes, he is. I just left Kids Inc. Exchanging some donations for the children, and they told me to make sure that I remind the school district to come pick up their boxes. You guys have a lot of stuff that they want you to come pick up, and they're going to be shutting down for a couple of weeks as well. But everyone that's on the line and everyone that's participated, we really, really appreciate you. The city of Peekskill is still open for business. If anybody has any questions or concerns, requests, or suggestions, you can always email myself, any members of the council, or the city manager, and we look forward to hearing from you all. So God bless you all. Be safe, continue social distancing, and wear your mask when you're in public.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for being on this call. Thank you for those of you tuning in. We will see you in 2 weeks. Have a great Thursday, and have a great start of your July.